Welcome to the Real Mama Pod.
I'm your host, Devin.
And I'm your host, Kendra.
We are real moms.
Sharing real experiences. The things people don't tell you.
Hey, Mama, hey.
Hey, Mama, hey.
How you doing, friend?
I am hanging in there by a thread, but I am present and highly favored.
I know that's right. Amen, amen, amen. Girl, if you're on by a thread, I don't even know. It's non-existent for me. But if this is your first time listening, I'm your host, Devin.
And I'm your host, Kendra. Welcome to the Real Mama
Pod. So we have a guest, y'all. Okay, so this guest is my friend, and we met through the YMCA. Our boys play basketball together. So his wife is a soror. DST.
Shout out to
you know, the sorors are deep. So we instantly connected. She was like, wait, you a soror? I was like, yeah, I'm a soror. You a soror? And when I tell you Taylor is like one of the most down-to-earth people I've ever met in my life, so chill. So we instantly connected. So obviously her husband at the games, either traveling or at the games, right? So, and so we just instantly clicked as like a family unit. We would go over each other's houses, just, you know, chill, kick it. And very low key, right? So one day it came up that Brandon played in the NFL. And I was like, wait a minute, I've been around y'all for how long? And I never know this. And so I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. And so they're low key about it. Taylor still has her own identity, still works, still do her thing. So you would never know, right? The kids are so well mannered, so well behaved. I ask Taylor all the time, like, what do you do to them kids? Because they listen. They are very kind, very respectful, and just well-rounded kids. And so I'm like, girl, give me the tea. Anyway, but we were talking about Brandon. And so we instantly connected, and he wrote a book. And so I have this book here. If you guys can see, Your Money Playbook. So yeah, that's a little bit about Brandon. He's a husband, he's a dad, retired NFL player, author, you name it. He still gives back to the community. So he does it all. He wears a lot of hats. And y'all know at the Mama Pod, we love a good dad. And we always try to share a positiveness about dads because sometimes they get negative like feedback or in a negative light. And so we are always trying to be positive and uplift because we know it's more good dads out there than bad, but the bad dads are the ones that get the bad rap, right? And so it makes it bad for all of them. But in this day and age, in our generation, like the dads are really doing it up. So we definitely had to get Brandon on the podcast just to pick his brain a little bit because we've never had like a professional athlete on the podcast to talk about what fatherhood looks like in that aspect. So we thought it'd be really cool to have a conversation. So welcome to the podcast, Brandon.
Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. One, it's an honor to be on. I've got a chance to watch some of your episodes and everything like that. But one, it's an honor to be on, just to be on the platform. But two, also more importantly, you know, for Taylor and I, we were in the NFL for a bit. And so we bounced around a bunch of different cities and really, you know, I always tell people we were in the NFL, but actually like living out of a suitcase. We didn't put up pictures on the walls. We didn't really make any place a home, so to speak. But when we actually got settled in down in Orlando or Kissimmee, which is where we really were, getting a chance to connect and bond with you and your family, you know, that's one of those things that actually made it home. You know what I'm saying? Being able to see other parents who are building, who are raising their children, battling, building a business, building an empire while also managing themselves and building their own identities and growing individually, but then also raising your children to grow individually and learning at the same time. So anyway, I appreciate you guys for having me and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Brandon. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
You and Taylor. But so we always ask our guests what their journey to mother or fatherhood was. So if you don't mind, can you tell us what your journey to fatherhood looks like?
Yeah. Wow. That's a big question. I think, you know, I mean, obviously I'm going to try to be as concise as I possibly can, but I think that I have worked for my children since being a junior in high school. And I always tell people, you know, you always grow up and want to have, like, I was one of them kids who I'm very much a quote unquote extremist where when I'm put into a situation, I can see the end of the situation. And so while some people call it extremist, I actually call it a visionary. And sometimes people think visionary is about, I'm trying to create the iPhone or create a rocket or something like that. But sometimes it's just about seeing yourself in a different position than where you currently are today. And so a lot of the negative situations that I would be in, I would look myself in the mirror, or I would just think to myself, okay, one day I can either use this as an excuse of why I didn't make it, or I literally would always visualize my son being on the bathroom floor, gripping his ribs and saying, "Daddy, I can't eat. I'm hungry." And I would tell him that excuse for whatever that situation was. Well, man, the teachers didn't believe in me. Man, coach was hating on me, man. I didn't get into that school, and just in that moment, visualizing that there was never an excuse that actually mattered or was worth it at that time. And so I start there because I think that from that point on, there was something that happened junior year that kind of pushed me to start visualizing that as like, yo, get rid of any excuse. Let's go get it. We got to go achieve our dreams by any means, and let's make it happen. That was the motivating factor, that unborn son that I didn't have, who ended up becoming Bryson and now Braylon and Brennan. But those were the motivating factors that pushed me through anything. And then finally, when I actually found out, the first time, Taylor gave me a call, hey, I know why I've been sleepy lately, I know why I've been tired lately, I remember that moment. It was a Friday, and she called from work in New York. She was at Google. She's still at Google. And, it was an interesting conversation, and, God willing, one day she'll be on the podcast and can tell more of the story from her side. But, at that time, the doctor had kind of told her, there's one of three things that could be happening. Either you could be having a really good normal pregnancy, you could be in the middle of having a miscarriage, or the baby could be stuck. And I'm not going to start getting into the different tubes and all that stuff. I'm not going to get there. You know what I'm saying? Not going to expose myself of all the biology classes I wasn't paying too deep of attention into. But ultimately, I just remember that call, and on one hand being excited that, man, I'm about to be a dad, but then on the other hand, having 2 out of 3 of the scenarios being something negative. And so, in all honesty, I remember in those moments kind of being like, well, I can't be crushed if 2 out of those 3 scenarios happen, because I need to be strong enough to pick her up. So I remember myself starting to detach in that moment from my unborn child at that point in time. And sorry if we're getting too deep for the intro, like J. Cole says, but I remember trying to like mentally detach a bit, because I knew that it would be terrible of me to put that negative loss on her if that actually happened. And God, is so incredible. Again, my son ended up becoming Bryson. He was born healthy, no issues at all, knock on wood. And again, I just remember everything because of how my wife had to receive the information from her doctor at work, and then how she shared the information with me, which, should have been one of the greatest days of our lives, but it was still great, but also kind of a little caveat to it as well, too.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like you try to disassociate just a little bit to put a barrier up. To protect yourself. But I mean, Bryson's here now and thriving. I mean, the kid is crazy in basketball. I heard he's doing flag football now, so I'm sure he's good at that too. But just to give y'all a little insight, he was like 4 playing with like 6-year-olds, okay, and hitting like 3-pointer shots, okay? That's some deep.
Boys,
yeah.
Brand.
Say it
What'd
one
you
more
say?
time. Sorry.
How old are your boys?
So I have a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and an 18-month-year-old right now. So all boys, all BMC, all my initials, Bryson, Braylon, and Brennan. And to your point, all playing sports, football, basketball, t-ball now, and a box. a little bit. I was like,
Oh.
hey, you ain't gonna be trying. Don't be trying my boys now. I always tell people, I want you, somebody at some point, someday, somebody at school is gonna try you. And I want that to be the last time anybody at that school tries it. They're like, you heard what happened to that
No,
last kid that messed with that kid? Mm-mm. So anyway.
listen, I'm not mad.
Do a scrub challenge with them.
I'm not mad at it. But see, he's 6 now. He was 4
Mhm.
when he was playing with 6-year-olds. So that just gives y'all
Yeah.
a little bit of insight of his maturity and skill. But going back to some of the things you said, like behind the scenes, right? People may see you today and see like, oh, this well put together person, right? And people may think like it's easy to like kind of get where you are today. Walk us through some of the behind the scenes of what it took for you to even from high school to college to NFL to retirement and what you're doing
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, I think, that's a phenomenal question. I think, I think a lot of people today in today's day and age of therapy and stuff like that say it's a lot of work, a
Mhm.
lot of work. But for me, I would simplify that a little bit. It's just like, I'm not comfortable with not growing and evolving.
Mhm.
And so, there was certain things that I did growing up and I enjoyed them. And those experiences at some point in time, you get to the point where it's like, okay, well, I've had enough of this experience, or I don't want to be doing this same thing 5 years from now. There's also certain points in time where you touch the stove, you're fighting at school, you're doing bad things, you're doing whatever, right? And you learn, well, I can keep doing this and keep going down this track, but I understand at a certain point, you got to look up, and I think you got to look down the road and figure out, like, is this process, or is this person I am or becoming, is this going to get me to the dreams that I want to actually live and accomplish? And so for me, I'll say that I am very, very curious. I want to know how things work. I want to know the why behind things. It slows me up a lot of times. And sometimes, the efficient time management leader I'm supposed to be is like, I shouldn't be worried about this. I shouldn't be, some people call it micromanaging, but for me, ultimately it's me learning and understanding the details of every single thing that I do, whether it's something in business, whether it's something on a football field, whether it's something with training, whether it's something with being a father, being a parent. Like, I'm just always studying people around me. And I can say that even when I was the knucklehead, I was always studying people around me and taking notes on what they do that I like, what they do that I don't like. Right. And I think that I've always been comfortable growing out of a season of my life. And so there was a season of my life where I was a college kid. There was a season of my life where I was a young man in the NFL. There was a season of my life where I was dating Taylor, getting to know Taylor. There was a season of my life where I was a young dad. There's a season of my life now where I'm not an old dad, but I'm a dad at this point in time, right? I'm an OG in the game. You know what I'm saying? I can give other people some advice.
Right.
And I think that, it's like Jay-Z's quote used to always say, people talk about you like, man, you changed. It's like, I didn't work this hard to stay the same. And so it's not that I never liked who I was. I've had fun throughout every single period of my life, but I think I've always been more focused on who I'm becoming, and I've been chasing that. And there's some seasons in my life where that means more parties. There's some seasons in my life that means more studies. There's some seasons in my life that means more gospel music. There's some seasons in my life that means whatever, And so that's what I hope that's answering your question. I hope it's not dodging your question, but it's just, I always tell people, keep going, keep growing, keep going, keep growing. Do not put a ceiling on yourself. I'm from Baltimore. I always grew up dreaming and visualizing myself moving out of Baltimore because I thought that there was a ceiling on how high a black man could go in that city. Since I've grown up, played with the Ravens, come back, I will admit I see it from a different perspective and a different angle now. Every time I go back, and it's a little bit different now. I go back versus when I was a kid, and I see certain opportunities now that I didn't see growing up. So maybe I was short-sighted then, who knows? But ultimately, even as a kid in middle school, I knew I don't want a ceiling over my head in Baltimore. And I think that just even that mindset of like, don't stunt my growth
Mm-hmm.
is the thing that has gotten me to this point. And to your point, you say, well put together. I think that that's also just like studying. I study people to this, like, it sounds weird. It's not no peeping Tom stuff. I promise you that. But like one of the best pieces of advice, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was to my senior year of college. I became the captain of my college football team. But the only thing that was different about it was basically you vote for captains, and usually it's 4 or 5 captains on the team. They did the vote, and this is my coach's words, not mine. The vote was so far, like, there was one person who was so far ahead of everybody that they didn't want to just force everybody along with them. It was just me. So we're going to put being the solo and only captain of 110 men on your
Wow.
shoulders, Cope, and we're going to put that. Now, this is also an Ivy League school.
Mhm.
The only first solo captain in 27 years, and then there was only one other before that. I don't know what year. And you got to think probably the first black solo captain. And one of the dads on the team said, listen, Cope, you're about to be interviewed more now than you've ever been in your life. And so what I'm going to suggest you to do is go start watching people's interviews. Go
Mhm.
start studying how they deal with awkward questions, tough questions, when they lost, when they, you know, when they're frazzled, whatever it may be, right? And so the dad was a white father, and so he was like Andrew Luck, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. And so I started watching those folks. I was like, these guys just really aren't me. They don't talk like me. So then
Right.
I started watching Jamie Foxx, Kevin Hart, Steve Harvey, Tyler Perry. I started watching all these other guys, Ryan Coogler now, and you start to really realize that like a lot of guys like, and women, Oprah, Kerry Washington, Shonda Rhimes, right? Like a lot of these people are giving you the playbook early on. Like Kevin Hart, the things he's doing in business now, he was talking about in 2016 on the Breakfast Club. And he was
Yeah.
talking about ownership and mindset and not being held back and all of that type of stuff. And so I say all that because when I'm sitting there on YouTube, just like watching and seeing how Jamie Foxx comes into any room and makes it his own, he sits down in the chair and he gets people to laugh, and then he goes boom, boom, and then he can get deep and all that stuff. It's like, not that I'm trying to be him. I'm trying to take certain pieces that
Study
have
them.
helped him be him, exactly, helped him excel in this world and see, okay, how can I improve? The same way on the football field, when I watch somebody else do something that was good, I'm going to sit here and study that and copy that and emulate that. That's going to keep me in the league one extra year because it's going to make me one extra play in a big game. And so
Right.
that's what I'll say has helped me get to this point of growth. And I don't limit that to just business. I think a lot of people limit it to just one thing.
Mhm.
I try to make sure I'm studying husbands and fathers and entrepreneurs and also the people who have effed it up. I think you learn a lot from people who have effed it up. People who tell you I spent too much time chasing business and money and not enough time with my family. Right? Like, well, I probably shouldn't do that.
Right.
Let's make sure that one ain't the reason I effed this thing up, you know? So that's kind of how I've gotten to this point.
Wow.
Love that.
Brandon, what is your sign? I'm curious.
I'm a Cancer, which I don't like the word Cancer, but
Oh,
yeah.
makes sense. Makes
Some-
sense. Makes sense.
My
Makes
husband
a lot
is
of
a
sense.
Cancer. So that's why I asked.
Yeah.
He is a Cancer. So you shared a lot. And did you study psychology or sociology when you were in college?
Nah, entrepreneurship, management, but
Oh, okay. But I think you
you
made
know,
some really good points.
thank you.
And obviously you've been very successful throughout your pre-college career, your college career, your post-college career, and now post-retirement. And
Mhm.
I know, Devin knows, a lot of us know, you cannot get this far in life without a strong village. Your wife is very successful in her own right.
Mhm.
You all are raising 3 young boys. You've been able to really make a life for your family, and it sounds like a sustainable life. So do you mind sharing with us like what you and Taylor's village looks like in support of all the great
Yeah.
things and the visionary ideas and such that you have? How does your village support you?
Yeah, it's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. It really should be a reality TV show, but it wouldn't be good because it's not that much drama. We don't keep a lot of drama around, to be honest with you. But well, not to be honest, we won't keep a lot of drama around. Won't be around too long. We've been incredibly blessed to have our own different upbringings. And although there's definitely parts of those upbringings that are, like the majority of the different stories that you hear, we're in this place where we've been able to find a way, really through COVID, actually, to reconnect all of those dots and recalibrate some relationships, I'd say. And I think, one of the things I used to always watch, and I'm gonna actually use this time to give my dad some credit. One of the things I used to always watch, when you watch a bunch of people's interviews, Jay-Z, Nick Cannon, Kevin Hart, The Rock, Will Smith, J. Cole, they all talk about therapy. And through it, the one thing that I always saw a lot of them talk about too was how they repaired relationships with their fathers. And for me, that's been one of the most incredible things as we've kind of recalibrated this village. Right now, in our household, at any point in time, you may have my mother-in-law here, my mom may be here, my dad may be here, and at some point in time, they are all interacting with our children. Devin used to come over the crib, and my mother and mother-in-law would be here, right? Today, my dad and mother-in-law are here at the house, and throughout the day, they're interacting with their grandchildren. They are giving us the space to go chase our dreams and accomplish things with a free mind, to know that our children are in the care of somebody who wants to see them eat and win and be better than themselves solely, right? And so I'll say, in terms of the pod that we've created, it's really like a multi-generational village that's in our household. And people come and go, but I will say, if you watch a lot of people, because I know a lot of us, we grow up and we're like, yeah, I'm getting away from them. And I understand it. Like, there are certain things about certain people in my family. I'm like, oh, we need a break. We need some time. All right. Yeah, but I will say, I think for our children, it has been an absolute blessing. And the reason why I say, I'll give an example, is like, when our children make a mistake, if it's just and there's nothing wrong with it. I want to make sure, somebody's not listening to me on the other side, like, oh, well, it's easy for you to say. I'm just telling our experience, right? If my children make a mistake, a babysitter or somebody who is not blood to them may say, hey, don't do that, right? Their grandmother, though, is going to be, hey, don't do that, but do this next time. Okay. And when you do that over and over and over, hey, say it like this. Hey, apple, right? Like, when you do that over and 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 over again, those are reps. And that's you getting your 10,000 reps early. And our children get to do that with their grandparents all the time. And so Taylor and I, obviously, we play a large role in making sure that we're there. We take them to school. We're trying our best to pick them up. Sometimes we switch off. Sometimes the grandparents are doing it. All the sports we're taking them to, I'm coaching them in all these sports at this point in time as well, too. So we are making sure we're not just like asleep at the wheel. But in terms of the village, in order for me to be able to travel and like go out into the world and try to do something that no one else has ever done before, and then come back home, like, I can only do that knowing that my household is like in really, really good hands. Cause I'm a guy, I hate being away from home. I tell people, if I'm going out of the house, if you see me leaving the house, it's either to make an impact and change a life, or to make some money. That's the only two reasons why you see me out of the house. If not, you ain't gonna catch me outside.
Right.
Yeah, I hear that.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, someone who's witnessed that, right? Your village is beautiful to see, because if you think about it, that's how we grew up. We grew up with our grandparents, but our generation, we are either our parents are working, so they can't help us because they're still working, or they have their own lives, or they live in a different state or city. And so the way I grew up, and Kendra too, somewhat, because she's a military brat, but she still had access to her grandmother at certain points in her life. My grandmother lived blocks away. Like after school, I would go to her home, on the weekends, the summers, that's where I was. But something shifted, I think, when people became more like college driven. You go where the job is, right? And sometimes the job is not where your family is. So therefore you don't have that village. But to see the way your mother-in-law and your parents show up, it's beautiful. Like,
Thank you.
you can't put a
Thank you.
price on that. You hear me? And when I say those kids listen to their grandparents, like, don't play the radio, and love them too. And they're so gentle with them, because sometimes you got grandparents that's real old school, but like, but like,
Yeah.
they're so gentle and understanding. And so I'm like, we need more of this. Can they teach a class?
It's really cool. It's really cool.
Can they
Well,
teach a class?
You mind if I add something on that?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think, and not to dovetail us too far, but it's I think there's a lot of things that we've been taught and trained. I don't know if we can get too deep here, but we're gonna have a conversation, right?
Go off the deep end.
I think there's a lot of things, and I'm saying this because we family here, so we're gonna have a real conversation. I think there's a lot of things that we've been taught and trained to think are normal that aren't really normal and aren't really how other races do it. So like a lot of things are like, you 18, get up out my house, get your own job, get your own this, but like you don't realize that like most other families are still like funding their children every single month, or they're paying the down payment on their children's homes, right? And they have generations of head starts, ahead of us, right? And so generations of head starts on top of us, so to speak. And so there's certain things that we have been kind of drilled of like, oh, like this is the way it's supposed to be done. But really, we're actually somewhat hurting ourselves. And I'm not saying that means everybody's got to have their family live in the house with them and they got to live up the street. I'm not saying that that's realistic for everybody, but I do think that as a parent, you should definitely start to challenge some of the things that you thought were normal and figure out, is this actually really serving me and my children? Or is this something that I've been taught to believe that this is the right way? And if I'm taught to believe that this is the right way, then, who taught me that? Like, I thought I was going to grow up whooping tail. I ain't going to lie to you. I thought I got my tail whooped. So I was going to grow up whooping tail. That's not against anybody whooping tail. I actually showed my sons a video the other day of some boys getting their tails whooped in the barbershop. It's going viral right now, for stealing. And the daddy's whooping that tail. And I'm like, y'all don't push me that far. I promise you, I don't ever want to do it. But if I have to, I will do it. Okay. But I had to also kind of think like, how did we learn that? Like, where do we actually take that cue? Because like we think that like, man, they don't beat their kids, but like
I know
they did that to us as like grown adults and human beings, and we saw that as a way to get us to stay in line, and so we start doing it to our children. So it's like, again, is that am I really trying to keep that one going, or is that something that I need to like figure out a better way? So now the kids, they will do push-ups. They will be on the block running up and down the street. They'll be doing wall sits. They're going to feel it. But I'm trying to exercise a little more patience and thinking and challenging myself to do it a little differently as well, too. So we'll see.
And it's not easy to do.
A lot. Yeah, Brandon. We always say we have to unlearn a lot of the ways we were parented. I'm pretty sure all three of us got our tails whooped growing up.
But I was too scared. I did not.
Well, I got a couple whoopings. Okay.
Yeah.
Now my brother.
My wife didn't either.
See,
Taylor didn't. And she's like, look how I turn. I'm good. I'm like, you're an anomaly. Devin, you must be another anomaly. It must be a Delta thing. Y'all are anomaly. Good for y'all.
I did not need it. Don't touch me. I'm not touching you. Don't touch me. I will do exactly what I need to do.
Not many. Now I didn't get a whole lot, but
now when I was a teenager, I did get slapped across the face, but that's different. I was a teenager, but as a child, no. Nothing happened.
I don't think I've been slapped, but
no, my mom, and I deserved it. The mouth was a little too slick. So
we do talk about that a lot, though, Brandon. We're all millennials, and I think we've seen a lot. Like, we are the generation that has grown up with a lot of insight on things that happened back in the day, you know, things that we've been exposed to that we were raised with and around, but also we've been educated and put in places that allow us to have our own thought and way of doing things, and we're okay with challenging systems. And that is one of those systems that we have challenged. And, you know, not saying that we frown upon anyone who disciplines their child the way that they like, but we are also mindful and conscious enough and have done research to see and understand that that's not always the best way to discipline our children. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's a real conversation. And I also feel like a lot of men who play professional sports, there's this stigma that you all are rough and tough, and that you gonna beat your kids, and you gonna, you know, and you've shown that, you know, yes, that's how I grew up. However, I'm choosing to father my children differently. So I'm glad that you brought some insight into that, because that is something that we hear and see a lot around men who play professional sports.
Amen. Thank you.
So you talked a little bit about generational wealth, and like in our community, sometimes the goal is to get the child out of the house by 18. And realistically, that just don't even make sense, because the brain is not even developed until 25, right? So how can I trust you to go out and make these decisions? I mean, you could get lucky, right? But if we're talking about a whole population, maybe 0.5% is probably going to make it out and be like successful, however you define this success. When we're talking about money and generational wealth, right? To close the wealth gap. And so I just want to talk about your book a little bit, and give us some insight of what made you like get into money, change your mindset around money, because you hear a lot of stories about professional athletes who get a large lump sum of money, and then by the time they finish, they have nothing. They have nothing to show for it, right? And so and it's easy. I mean, I'm not even a professional, but it's easy to get like locked into like the name brands and the cars and the houses and all the things, right? Because especially if you didn't have those things, and now you have access to those things, I can see how easy it could be to like fall into that trap, right? To show and to look like you have money, but like really what your bank look like, because at the end of the day, that stuff is not going to feed you. That stuff is not going to sustain your family. It's not going to give you the generational wealth that you would want. When you're younger, you may not be thinking about that, but hindsight is 2020, and you have foresight, right? We talked about that a little earlier. So walk us through that. Like, how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to the money journey and just being interested in money, that started as a kid. And you know, I used to always tell people in the book, well, I guess I shouldn't spoil the book, but in the book, I talk about me being a child and us having certain experiences where I wanted to, we be in the checkout aisle and I want to get the candy bar. And mama like, no, you can't get the candy bar. And I'm like, one day I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna buy up all the candy bars in this mug. You know, that was the motivation. Or we get to McDonald's and, you know, hey, I want the meal. Like, I want the fries and the drink. I'm like, no, you get the dollar menu and you get some water, a courtesy cup of ice water. Boy, if not, drink your spit, right? Like, hey, and you know, as a little husky kid, it was like, man, I'm gonna work so hard that I'm gonna be able to buy up anything I want anytime. And it was sad that it was all about food a lot of times. So that was the motivation. But in all reality, mom was just budgeting, you know, and I didn't understand it then, but she was like, hey, I'm balancing two boys by myself. And, you know, at times I'm going through a divorce or I'm not, you know, and I'm trying to balance this single income. I'm trying to get y'all to school. I'm trying to give you an opportunity to play all these sports, and they expensive too. Now it's AAU. You want to travel, my boy? Come on, you know. And my mom, she protected us from all that, but it actually just lit a fire in my head of like, I want to make so much that none of these decisions matter, right? And so that's how it started as a young kid. And then I had the fortune of going to a high school called Gilman High School, and it was extremely well known for football at the time, and really a remarkable coach. His name is Biff Poggi. And Coach Poggi was the only coach who did not actually work for the school. He would just come and coach. I don't think he got a check or anything for coaching, but Gilman happened to be like top 20 in the nation every single year in football. And they actually have done an HBO documentary on him. They did a book on him called A Season of Life, him and another coach. And basically what was different about this experience was like we would learn Bible lessons at practice. We would walk out on the field and he would make us hold hands and stuff like that. And everybody like, you know, football team holding hands, what y'all doing? And they'd go out and roll and whoop tail. But I remember in the spring, we would do spring football, and on Wednesdays, this dude would it would be like 45 pizzas. It always got to do with food. He'd bring 45 pizzas every Wednesday. And I'm like, yo, how he afford this? Like, he's not a hooper. Like, I'm looking at him, and no offense, coach. He ain't a hooper. He ain't got that type of build. You know, he didn't play in the NFL. No, somebody would have told me that. I don't think you a drug dealer. So one day as a sophomore in high school, I literally go up to him after practice. I'm like, hey, like, coach, I don't know what like you do, but like, can I learn from you? Like, can I come see what you do? And he, you know, by the grace of God, he said, you know what, I'll give you an internship. And I think he was testing me, see if I would actually like show up. I'll give you an internship. You come in the summer, you work out in the morning, and then you come over to my office. We 10 minutes away, and I'll teach you anything I can. Cool, bet, I'm there. And so for 3 years, I did an internship with him. And what he actually did was run his own hedge fund. And basically, for those who don't know what a hedge fund is, it basically takes positions, it buys and sells stocks, and it's trying to make money on the spread between the different ones it buys and wins on and the ones it sells on. I won't get too complicated because there's a certain strategy, but regardless, it buys and sells stocks. And for me, going into that office every day, that was the first time I saw people sitting behind a desk looking at CNBC and Bloomberg and seeing all these little tickers going, and these folks are making millions. And I'm just sitting there like, yo, you ain't like tackling nobody. You ain't got a dunk. The police ain't around here, nothing. Like, hold on. What we talking about? You got to teach me some of this, right? And so that was my introduction to like, oh, like we think we talk about money with $100 here, $1,000 here, but like these dudes is talking, you know, let me get $500,000 in Disney stock, right? Now that propelled me on like just a understanding of exposure, I guess, right? A bunch of people earn your leisure, bunch of folks exposure equals expansion. Fast forward, I end up going to college. I work on Wall Street as well too. When I'm in college, I intern on Wall Street, and I'm seeing people literally trade millions of dollars a day. And so then I go to the NFL, and when I'm in the NFL, you know, one of the first things they talk about is a 401k. And I'm like, man, a 401k, like, dang, like I feel like everybody should know this. But I had to make it to the Baltimore Ravens to learn what a 401k is. But I've worked on Wall Street. I went to the #1 business school in the country. I went to a private high school, Gilman, which was a really good academic school. I had to make it to the Baltimore Ravens locker room to learn what a 401k is. That's crazy. Who's going to teach my mom this? Who's going to teach my brother this? So that didn't sit well with me. And then fast forward to 2016, I bought my first house in New Jersey. And Taylor, who was my girlfriend at the time, we moved fast, y'all. We moved fast. She was my girl at the time. We bought a house together. Yeah, it worked out, fortunately. But
no judgment over here.
Yeah, we bought a. Yeah, it worked. We bought a house together, and she was at the closing table in Jersey. I was in Detroit in my locker, and she sends me the closing package. The closing company sends me the closing package, and she's like, "Hey, babe, does everything look right?" And I open it up, and I'm supposed to be the financial guru and all this type of stuff. And I'm looking at it. It's 106 pages. I remember sitting in my locker, 106 pages of a bunch of stuff I've never seen before. And I'm just like, bro, I don't know if this look right. Like, I ain't never done this before. And like, this is the biggest purchase of my life. Like, this feels wrong. Like this is stupid. We just sat in all these classes, and we all know we want to buy a house one day. And all I see, and as an NFL player, I'm also afraid that you are trying to take advantage of me. And I see the top line, my purchase price, and I see all these other little line items and numbers, and I don't know this deed, warranty deed. Who is this charging me taxes for the other people? Nah. You know, so it was like this is one of those moments where we should be holding up the keys on Instagram, like, yo, we bought our first house. But really, I just feel like I got played. So this is crazy. So at that point in time, that's when I started working on a class to teach anybody about their money. Because I'm like, there's no reason why we go and we learn about the tangent of a 45-degree angle and you don't teach me how to buy a house or about my credit score or about how to buy a car and insurance. We just did a class at Penn. I teach at Penn now. It's our 8th year doing it. We just did a class on wills and estate plan, and Chadwick Boseman, one of the best actors of all time, right? Like, unfortunately passed away, didn't have a will. So the government ended up jumping into his estate and took a third of the money. $1.3 million of his estate went because the government ended up trying to solve and divvy up who it should go to, right? And so it's like things like that just disturb me. And some of it is not our fault. But at a certain point in time, we got to take ownership of ourselves, right?
Yep.
And so all I'm trying to do and all I've tried to do, and I've told people I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. There's certain things I'm doing right now that I'm probably messing up on, but I'm making the best decision I possibly can today. And
Right.
if I'm messing up, I still think I'm making the best decision today. 5 years from now, I might look back and be like, man, I should have invested in this company, right? Like hindsight is 2020, or man, if I would have known that 5 years from now, I'd be in a different state, I may have done something different. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But all I tell people is like, there's a lot of people who write they tell all books at 60 and they own a yacht and they chilling. They like, man, this is how I made it all. I'm just doing it while I'm building it. And so
Yeah.
hopefully we all can be on them yachts one day.
Right.
And we all can be chilling together. Like, man, when you made that risk, you took that decision, I decided to do a little bit too. And we all good. So that's all I'm trying to do. I'm putting that in the world. We've done that through the book. We've done it online. There's a class online, digitally, life101.io. You can go take it as well too. But ultimately, again, the goal is to just, while I'm learning, because people want to teach me and show me stuff because of the platform and the NFL and the money, I'm teach my mama. Like, hold up. Like she deserved to retire early. As hard as she
Right.
worked, I just got to tackle people. So teach my brother, teach us. So that's what we've been trying to do.
I like it. So do you think becoming a father kind of heightened this generational wealth, we got to get this money, we got to know everything we need to be successful and financially smart, and how we're planning? Did becoming a father influence or impact the way you moved?
No.
Or like this is what it's been and it's what I'm continuing to do?
Yeah, I think, for me, I've been working for my children since I've been a junior in high school. And for me, it's always been about freedom and mental freedom. I don't want anybody controlling me, what I say, what I do, when I do it. Hey, Cope, you got to be over here I'll get there. I'll get there when I get there. Like last year, I remember there was somebody who offered me a nice check. Ooh, nice check to go speak on financial literacy in Chicago. I remember it. And it was the same day as my son's graduation. And it was like, man, I always wanted to work with this type of company and do all this stuff, but no, not going. If y'all can move the schedule around, make it happen, great. If not, they were kind of surprised. Like, well, you serious? Like, yeah, I'm very serious. I'm going to do this, right? And it's not that I'm a saint or anything like that, but I think it's more so just the freedom. When you go into the NFL, although it is the NFL, most people don't make it. So for me, my first 2 years, I always say that was a roller coaster ride. A lot of people don't know. So I came in the NFL 2013. This week is actually NFL draft, not to timestamp us, but all these guys are hearing their names called during the draft. I didn't hear my name called. They called me after. And basically that means you're undrafted and you are the lowest guy on the totem pole. And a lot of times people call you a camp body. You might not make the team for training camp. And then if you do make the team for training camp, we're going to use your body up during training camp. And then we're going to fire you, cut you, feed you to the wolves. And that was the end of your NFL career. But for me, by the grace of God, I kept on, right? And worked my way up. And literally in my second season, after 2 weeks, I got cut from the Tennessee Titans and I didn't play anymore. September 14th, 2014, and got cut. didn't play the rest of the season. I worked out for all these different teams, the Colts, the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Packers. None of them signed me. And January 1st, 2015, I'm out the league. And I'd say I'll give myself 1 calendar year to get back into the league. I go through this whole process, and by the grace of God, I get back into the league. I signed with the Detroit Lions in 2015. What a lot of people don't know, but I'm going to share it here. And I'm not afraid to share it. I was down to $243 in my bank account. I was driving my mother's car. I drove from Maryland to Detroit, and I'd actually signed up to drive Uber. I did not know how long I would actually play in the league. And so I drive to Detroit to sign with the Lions. And I was going to drive Uber, and I'm like, I mean, if people kind of know I'm a Lion for a little bit, maybe they give me a 5-star review. Maybe they give me a little tip. We'll know. Who knows? I'm going to cash out as long as I can. But after a couple months, I might be done out this league thing, and I got to move on. But I'm going to stack as much as I can while I can. The very first day, I'm in Detroit. I still got the profile for Uber too. I hit a pothole. Detroit, y'all got some crazy potholes. That thing is crazy. I hit a pothole, and my windshield, my mama's windshield, cracked right across the front. And Uber does not let you drive if you had a cracked windshield. And I didn't have enough money to even fix the dang windshield, right? So like for me, yes, my children, I've always wanted that. I want them to have options. But first and foremost, for me, I just wanted to have options. Like, I just wanted freedom, right? Like, I just want the ability to not have another person determine how we eat tonight, when we eat tonight, what we eat tonight type of thing. And a lot of times for an NFL player, that's your coach or your team. But for me, it was always, okay, how do I take money? How do I use what I'm talented at to make money? That's what all of us as individuals do. I go to work, punch a job to earn money. How do I take that money? And then how do I go put it into things that make me more money? So that one day I don't have to go make the money anymore, because the things I've put it into are now making me so much money that I have the choice of what I get to do. So that's how we got here. But again, to answer your question, Kendra, and sorry for the long roundabout way to get here, for me, it's about freedom. It was about, I don't want anybody holding something over Taylor's head and I don't want a boss telling her what she got to do. Again, I want her to, you go hustle. It's not that you got to be soft or like you always got to like exactly what you do. There's a big difference between comfort and sacrifice. I think some people mistake, everything feeling good. I mean, you guys are building a podcast as mothers, right? Like, I think sometimes people think that this is easy for you to spend this time doing this with every other responsibility pulling at you. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes people mistake comfort with the sacrifice necessary to do something great or special. And if most of us, you always got to sacrifice to do something special. And most of us aren't living that life of freedom from where we started. So I understand that takes a certain level of sacrifice that most people in the world aren't willing to make. I always tell people, if most of us are in the locker room, they say we're going to go broke. I think somebody mentioned it earlier. One of you mentioned it earlier, like other people buying cars, designer, all this stuff. I can afford it. But if all the statistics say that 78% of us are going to go broke, whether that's right or wrong, I'd be a dummy to be out here buying the same things y'all are buying. Because that means I'm on the same track as 78% of us, right? So I think that like some of the things are just like, again, how do we mess up? Let me just avoid those things. Right. And that's going to increase my probability of being somewhat okay.
Yeah. It goes back to you studying people and their behaviors and decisions and it kind of helping you craft how you want your life to look and how you want your family's life to look and feel. So
yeah. That's good. So when it comes to money and your boys, right? How are you teaching them? What are you teaching them? What does that look like? What is their relationship with money? If they're anything like our kids, no concept, just Amazon Prime it. It'll be here tomorrow. I have $100. Let's spend it today. Like, and they're still young, but what does that relationship with money look like for them?
Yeah, I think it's tough battle because your dream was to be in a position to be able to provide anything that they want for them. But then you also want them to value a dollar and not be soft, and to understand what they need to do in order to go get the things that they actually want. And so what I do is I literally walk them through the different accounts that we've set up for them. And I make them pick stocks now, right? And so like my middle son, he's at that point where, if I say, hey, we got to do it, he's like, pick stocks. Like, he's like, man, I'm tired of this. Let's just play some video games or let's just go wrestle, daddy. Right. But like, I try to, right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring them into as many conversations, decisions, and exposure about money and how things happen, the good and the bad, so that I'm starting to train them for later on in life. A lot of times in the NFL, they talk about how the team owners' children, you'll see them around the facility, or their grandchildren. You'll see them around the facility and they'll be working with the equipment managers, or they'll be with the training staff, and they'll just be walking around the locker room, and like they might be 10 years old. But what a lot of people don't realize, that 10-year-old one day is going to be the owner of this team. Right. And like really what his grandfather was doing, or their father was doing, was like, I'm training you. This is your internship, and you getting reps. And so what I believe is I'm trying to get them reps at hearing negotiations, at understanding how we got to put a tenant in the crib, at the details of the process. There's houses being built around our home, so I take them into the homes being built. And we got like literally meta glasses, and I'll watch them walk around. And now they went from last summer, not being able to understand what anything is, to like, hey, what do you think is going to go there? Well, that's a red tube and a blue tube, daddy. So it's hot and cold water. So it's got to be a sink or a shower. It can't be a toilet, because you don't need hot water with a toilet, daddy. Right. And just keep going to the next one. This got to be a kitchen. Like Bryson will be that. Right. And so for me, it's just reps. I think as they get older, I'm going to give them money to experiment. Hey, here's $20. Let me see what you do with it. Right. Like, there's times where I'll give them, I remember early on, like Bryson, I would pick him up from school back when we were in Jersey. I'd give him $2. And he'd be like, Daddy, can I go get candy? Can I get some candy? Can we stop and get candy? Every once in a while, I'd be like, all right, we're going to stop on the way home, get some candy, trying to be trying to throw you a surprise. That Milky Way bar that your boy couldn't get growing up. Let me go get it for my boy, And, but I remember, I remember like, all right, one day I was like, you want candy? At first I said no. I was like, you want candy? All right, go ahead. And I actually had some cash on me. So I took $2 and I gave it to him. I was like, you got $2. Go ahead. You got to find something that's worth $2. So he go walk through, it was Walgreens or CVS. He go to the big candy aisle and he grabbed the big bag. I'm like, how many dollars is that? That's $3.60. He go to the next thing, Sour Patch. It's not $2, my boy. Right. And so now it's just like the rep it, like, man, I gotta actually like think about what I'm grabbing type of thing. Mm-hmm. And now he'll do that with I'll do that with his middle brother, Braylon, is my middle son, his younger brother. And he will now coach Braylon up. You can't get that gum, Braylon. You got to get this one. We got to go by the checkout register. We can't go to the packs, Yeah. So again, I'm trying to get them reps. I'm trying to get them reps at decision making, but I think to land the plane here, I also think that it's not just about the money and like, hey, invest in this stock and watch it grow. I think it's also starting to give them the best education they're going to get is from us, especially as entrepreneurs. If that's what we want them to be, we want them to learn from us. Hey, let me deal with this negotiation back and forth, right? Hey, you hear him talking to me like that? Watch how daddy does this, and you got to show them those different levels and layers. And I think as they get older, then, the goal is just bring them in more.
Yeah. And, listening to you talk, Brandon, your experience in the NFL and maybe even college and when you were a junior in high school, a lot of these transferable skills from football
Yeah.
play into the way you raise your boys, but also how you have built a business that is consistent, that is repetitive in a way that is allowing you to stay consistent and seeing some real growth in your career. So there's always this idea that people who played sports or were in the military, that the repetition that you all get and that you're coached to do, you can see that show up in a lot of other areas of your life. And I don't know if you've seen that or noticed that, but just you talking about repetition and consistency and coaching and training, it's showing up in all these areas, and I can see that it's coming from your football career. So I don't know
Thank you.
if anyone has ever told you that, but
Well, thank you. Thank you. I will say this, you would probably appreciate this, and I don't know if I ever thought about this, but I think I'm hoping I'm not about to stick my foot in my mouth with this one, but I think this may also apply to mothers on a umpteenth level. All right. So, but I'm gonna stick in my lane. So let me not even, y'all can let me know whether it applies to mothers on the umpteenth level or not. I want to be very clear to all the mamas out there, all the real mamas out there. I'm not comparing me as an athlete and what football players do to mothers and what the incredible superheroes that you guys are.
You're good.
Look, don't give me
this is a safe space, Brandon.
Safe space.
Pitchforks at my crib.
Safe space.
A safe space. What you got?
No, but in all seriousness, the other day I was reflecting and I found out, I thought about what is the best lesson that I learned from football, NFL football, whatever. But I'm gonna say NFL football specifically because like that elite of a level. But I think it could apply to all higher levels of football or any sport. But I realized that the very best lesson that I learned is that I always have another level I can go to. Like there's always a wall. Every single year I wanted to quit. There's always a workout where you're like, this ain't really worth it. Like, I don't really know. Injury. I had 8 surgeries during my time. And I remember after the 5th one, I was like, I won't have another one. Right. And 2 of them were season ending. One of them, when I was in Atlanta, I played the whole season with a torn knee. And I think there's always a wall that tells you to stop. I can't do anymore. I'm done. It's too much for me. And as an elite athlete, you have to find a way to either run from that wall or push through it. As an elite athlete, you push through it. LeBron James, 41. I'm not comparing myself to LeBron, you know what I'm saying? But 41 years old, I always say on Sunday, let me keep it on me. On Sunday, not everybody wakes up on Sunday morning and wants to just run into other human beings at full speed. So mentally, you got to figure out what is going to turn me up today to get me to go keep a job out here, to not get embarrassed in front of my mom and my wife and my kids. You know what I'm saying? Because this other dude is flying here to this state just to embarrass me if he can. Right. And there's always a wall. And as an elite athlete, you learn that I got to just find the motivation to push myself through it. And again, I'm assuming that applies to mothers. I'm thinking about my wife in the delivery room and, no, you know, push, right? Like, and if I just internalized that a few days ago, but like, if you look at everything like that, like, I got one more rep.
Yeah.
I got one more.
You're right. You're right. It's always another level.
So you're good, Brandon. We
it's
would have
another level.
He was like, I made it through that.
We got what you was putting down. That was good.
It was. So I think it's time for some daddy juice.
Yeah.
Brandon and listeners, just to give you all some context. So Mama Juice is my segment of the show. Brandon, one day you and Taylor will learn I love a good cocktail. Anyone who listens to this podcast, they know that I love a good, well-crafted cocktail. And we had to bring our personalities into this show, and that is one segment that I wanted to bring to this platform. So we always have a drink in conversation. You all haven't seen me drink anything today because I am actually not drinking today. However, today's drink is a remix. We're having daddy juice because we got a dad here. And when I asked Brandon what he likes to drink, he said a whiskey sour. And I also like whiskey sours. So that is our daddy juice today. And we're going to call it the playbook. And the reason why we're calling it the playbook is Brandon has a book, and I'm sure at some point as we close out, you will have an opportunity to talk briefly about your book. Yes, Your Money Playbook. But in this conversation, sometimes we get inspired by our guests and the things that they say and the things that they do. And you mentioned the playbook, but I feel like you gave a lot of information, and you low-key gave the playbook for several things that we can do and consider as we think through building up our finances and applying that to our family life. And I know that at some point we probably will have another conversation with you to carry on a lot of what was discussed today. But I feel like you gave us a brief synopsis of one, what your book is about and just how you kind of grown throughout life to build the life that you have. But also giving some gems to listeners on how they can use this playbook to build a sustainable future and financial life for their family. So today's drink, again, is called the playbook, and it is a whiskey sour. I am more, on the stronger side of my drink, so I'm going to give you all a stronger recipe. Feel free to adjust to your liking. But we're going to have 2 ounces of whiskey. We're going to have 3/4 ounce of fresh lemon juice. And I'm actually going to lower the simple syrup to either 1/4 ounce or 1/2 ounce. And we're going to have a whiskey sour. So, Brandon, what's your preferred bourbon or whiskey?
I'm gonna go with. I mean, if I'm just out, I can go with literally Johnny Walker or Maker's Mark. But yeah, I'll just keep it simple. Simple man.
I like
Tennessee whiskey. And we might, if we had to do some karaoke, I might have to hit some, some Tennessee whiskey on the karaoke or two. You know
I know what song you're talking about. Make that happen.
That's hilarious.
And that's daddy juice today.
Love it. Too strong for me, but y'all have at it. If this is your first time listening, my favorite segment is Mama's Corner. And so this is our opportunity to connect with our guests further or our listeners. Either our listeners will write in a letter and we will try to answer that question, or we will ask an additional question. So I feel like we should reflect a little bit. We talked a lot about family life, right? And so I want to dig a little deeper about your relationship with your wife, Taylor, right? Sometimes, especially when you have pro athletes, the marriages don't always seem to work, right?
Yeah.
So how, walk us through that. Like, how did you stay focused? You put family first. You adore your wife. I've learned that and seen that firsthand. Where's your mindset with that? Because I feel like being a professional athlete, and this is just me just being observant, not any facts or anything like that. But there's like a lot of distractions. Let's be real. There's a lot of people who just want to be around you for who you are. And I get why you're low key about who you are too. But walk us through that, what that looks like. How do you stay focused? How do you keep family first?
Yeah. I think one of the best, I've gotten some incredible advice throughout my life. And sometimes you just got to listen and do your best to, in those moments, in those forks in the road, to fall back on that advice. And going into my second year in the NFL, there was a big brother of mine, and his name was Torrey Smith. And one of the things he said was he's won 2 Super Bowls. And after, I believe, his first one, that had to be his first one. He said the guys were in the club in Miami, Live, I want to say Club Live. And I wasn't there. I was, not even in the league at that time. But he said, I looked around the club and I realized that like there was only bad things that could happen for me there as a married man. So it was like, I got in an Uber and I left. I went home and I just got myself out the situation. And it always resonated with me because I was like, especially one at that time in my life, Torrey played for the Baltimore Ravens, my hometown team that I played for twice throughout my career. But it was like, man, you won a Super Bowl and you finally like, this is like the movies, like you at the club, everybody there, and you left. Right. And I didn't, wasn't one, I was so young and I wouldn't do this anyway, but like, it wasn't like he was a mentor of mine. So, and he's a friend now and a big bro, but I wasn't in a place where I was too cool, where I'm like laughing at him or anything like that. I was just like, oh, you really put me on the game now. Like, right. If you're in a bad situation, get out of it. And don't try to be too cool. Don't try to stick it out and push it through. And so I think I'm using that as one of the things that I do my best to fall back on, is just like avoid bad situations. And as a pro athlete, there is a target on your back. That was one of the lessons that we got as a Baltimore Ravens going in. Like the same way you're a pro athlete, there are pros out there that are here to take your money. And there's pros out here that are trying to take more from you. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so don't think, some guys may get drafted this week. And one of the things they said, don't think you think you cute now because you got drafted. Like you think that just because you got drafted, you got this big signing bonus and now you got your DMs blown up. You think you cute, right? Like you got to understand what people want out of you. And so, I'm starting there, but I'm going to transition to my wife because I really need to give all the credit to her. I met Taylor my first day of college, actually, July 25th, 2009. And she played me, y'all. She played me. And you asked her how she played me. But literally the first day I saw her, met her, I was like, I want her. That's me. And after a week, I literally handed her a note saying, hey, like, I know who's going to be my girlfriend by the end of the first semester, college game. Handed her a note, had her name in it. She had a boyfriend from high school. And if we weren't on camera, I probably would say a joke and make fun of him, but I don't want to disrespect him because I'm sure he's a good dude. But she was faithful to him as she should be, and that was good. And so we literally just genuinely became best friends. We actually stopped talking for a little bit after that because I had to guard my heart. We literally became best friends again, or started developing a friendship, and then eventually it became best friends probably that spring semester. And moving forward, started developing that friendship again, and literally didn't start dating until about a year after college, a year and change. That time where I was out of the NFL, I remember we went back to homecoming and sat down with her, took her to TGI Fridays, big baller, big spender coming from the league. And I remember sitting down and, for the ladies and the fellas out there, again, I'm a visionary. I see to the end of this thing. I see it at the end, right? And so we sit down at dinner and I'm like, well, look, I think we should try this, right? Like you're single, I'm single right now. We should try this. And she was, I don't want to ruin the friendship and all this stuff. And I'm just like, look, our friendship over. Like, I'm just going to tell you straight up. Like,
I love you, girl.
I love you, but also, look, we ain't going to be able to be best friends. If I marry anybody worth her salt, she ain't going to be happy with me on the phone with you at 9:30 at night laughing at your jokes. And if you marry anybody worth his salt, he ain't going to be, hey, yo, what you laughing at his jokes for? Like, why you know what I'm saying? So whether it's today, tomorrow, whether it ends because we try this thing and it don't work out, or whether it ends 5 years from now because whoever we're with ain't having that, we might as well try this thing. I'd rather be proactive about it, right? Let's blitz it. I'm a defensive guy. Let's blitz this thing, right? Let's figure it out fast, right? And so fortunately, she, got over that hump in her head and we tried it and, 3 kids, 3 cribs, 3 cars later, literally. They rentals though. Some of them rentals. We, we are still loving each other, going strong. And again, that's my best friend. And so, I think ultimately, what I'll say is there was a moment in my career where I had to look myself in the mirror and say, am I willing to potentially lose the person I know is right for me for the long haul for the opportunity to be the guy that I've always wanted to be in the league or live this life that I always thought I wanted to live in the league. And again, when you fast forward to the end of this, when this career ends, where does that leave me? Does that leave me regretting who I let go? Or does that leave me in a place where I'm happy that I'm living this life? And again, fortunately, I think, I know I made the right decision. And so if y'all ever have her on the pod, tell her I said some good things about her and she should keep me. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds like she is coming on the pod. So
Yeah, she
There
is.
you
We're
go.
gonna work that out. No
that's a
problem.
good question. We're gonna see what her perspective is.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I love that, and I love how y'all love each other, and hold each other down.
Amen.
So keep on fighting the good fight because it's hard out here in these marriages, keeping
Yeah.
them together. So
Amen.
y'all keep being an example.
We will do our best. I would say, you ever seen Steve Harvey talk about his wife, his current wife now?
Yeah,
He was on like stage of somebody and like called her out and said, I'll kill every one of y'all in here about her, blah, blah, blah. Like I feel that. And I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
listen,
That's
I
found the
feel
right
that.
one.
Yeah, I
Yes.
feel
Well,
that.
I love this conversation. I cannot wait to have you back. We're going to plug all your things in our description box. So you guys click on those links, grab those books, check out the classes, do all the things. And we can't wait to have you back. The next time we have you back, it will be in person.
In person.
Because
Whiskey sour.
sometimes we feel like certain episodes just, you got to have the in-person conversation. But this would
Amen.
do for now. And
Thank
we
you.
really thank you for your time.
Yes.
Thank you both for having me.
Meeting you, Brandon, and I know at some point I will meet you in person. And Taylor, and you get to meet the Ferguson family, but I know we will talk again soon. So thank you for joining us on the pod. And this is a really, really good conversation.
Amen. Thank you guys. I appreciate you having me.
Of course. Well, until next time, mamas and daddies.
Bye.
Bye.